Now let's go into the numbers. Yesterday, check this out, guys. Yesterday, we saw the JOLTS data, and the JOLTS data is the job openings data. It shows you how many jobs are open in the economy for people to fill. We had expected 8.8 million job openings. We got 9.6. That means a huge amount more job openings than anticipated. Now, the kicker here, what did yields do? They said, oh my goodness, the economy is so strong, we're going to have to send yields sharply higher. And that's what we saw yesterday. Yesterday, the 10-year yield basically went to 4.8%. Now, in the overnight, again, yields, remember, basically trading 24/7, we saw yields hitting close to 4.9% on the 10-year. Okay? That is insane. Okay? Again, hugely negative. We saw the S&P futures getting crushed overnight. Coming into today, and this is the kicker, guys, midnight, maybe early morning, yields began to fall. They started to fall to the point where going into this data, the ADP jobs data, we saw an expected 153,000 private sector jobs numbers. That's what was to be expected. We came in at 89,000, much weaker than anticipated. So yesterday we had much stronger. Today we had much weaker. Now listen, the big one is going to be on Friday, the jobs report, the non-farm payrolls. That's going to give us a clearer picture. These numbers notoriously can be a little iffy. So again, the markets are breathing a little bit of sigh of relief this morning. S&P futures are positive. But the kicker is when Friday comes at 8:30 a.m., what is that jobs number going to tell us? That is going to be the determining factor. But what's interesting here, folks, what's fascinating is that in the middle of the night, yields started to drop and go negative. And let me bring up the 10-year yield chart here because this is very, very interesting. So what we see here on the 10-year yield, this is the 10-year yield. And again, we see yesterday, this big move up yesterday, right? And then overnight, this was the move overnight, almost to 4.9%. And then all of a sudden, we started to drop. At 3 in the morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Eastern time, we began to fall, and we fell, and then we got the number. And I will just say this, is that when you see this type of reversal ahead of a number like the ADP number, someone got that information early, most likely. It happens, guys. You might say, oh, that's so crazy, blah, blah, blah. It just happens. It's the nature of it. We know that when people have data, it's very hard for them to stay tight-lipped, especially when we see such dramatic moves in the bond market or in the stock market. So I think that's really important to recognize. The other thing to understand, too, is that if you looked on Twitter last night, everyone was talking about bonds and yields and how it was going to be crazy. What do we know about market tops? Market tops occur when everyone freaks out about it. Case in point, Bitcoin. Case in point, and again, I'm talking 69,000 on Bitcoin, right? Case in point, oil just recently. Remember overnight it hit that $95 level and then it reversed and everyone was freaking out. So yesterday we saw everyone freaking out. Sure enough, what happens? A short-term top. Now, if we go to the daily chart, check this daily chart out on the bond market or on the 10-year yield. We had a topping tail, which was basically last week, and we got a small pullback. We closed here. Yesterday, we actually negated the topping tail. So this is an instance where, as a technician, I want to walk you through how I determine what to do. So number one, we negated it yesterday. So that puts you on alert. Oh my goodness, we negated the topping tail. Maybe we have broken this key trend line that I've referred to. But there's a couple things as a technician that you pay attention to. What you want to do first is you want to go to your weekly chart. So on Friday, this is what I'm watching. Do we come back in and close back at that weekly trend line? The weekly is really important, especially when it comes to the bond market. So we're going to watch that. Number two, if we go back to the daily chart, we have a new topping tail potentially forming today. So we might have another signal that the bond market short term, the yields have topped here on that price point. So there are things to watch here, but certainly yesterday I was caught a little flat-footed in that situation. Again, we saw the bond market, again, yields pushing up dramatically, and obviously bond prices were collapsing because of that. So what we're going to watch in the next couple days, and I will walk you through each and every day going forward in this game plan, what do we see on the yield? Is it coming back by Friday to this area right here, which is around 4.65? Is it still, do we form a topping tail today? How do we react to that? And ultimately, what does it tell us about the economy? Because really, the jobs number today, the ADP private sector, starts to say, wait a minute, maybe things aren't as good as the JOLTS data yesterday showed, and that's very, very important. All right,